Oh, fun stuff, fun stuff. Yeah, I bounced in here just a couple minutes behind. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Talk about traditions where we expect everything to be the same every day. Yet look at this group roll. We're rolling with it. We don't know if it's being shared. We have no idea what we're talking about, and we are all cranking. And I bet you flash your mic if you've taken any notes in your little piece of paper in front of you right now, or if you use any of those fun things like the digital tools, right? So yeah, and I have to too, but I'm talking. So I love that it started with the ham story. That is one of my favorite stories to share. And it actually reminded me of a conversation I share with every coaching client I have. And it's basically just saying, here's the deal. Lee mentioned it yesterday. People resist help. And one of the things that I do when I come in as a coach, the first thing is I've coached thousands of people one on one, and it is amazing that that is the one thing. And I'm saying this so that if you have a coach, that you're aware of this, because it's the one thing that you get almost no credit for, right? Because we do help and inspire and help people see things differently, and maybe things that are outside of tradition that don't make sense, whatever it might be. And you really don't get much credit for it because the client is the one that's doing the boots on the ground, the hard work, making the actions happen. And it is interesting how a lot of people get to that point where they wonder where that value is. And if you're paying for coaching, so I'm just going to give a real world example from my world where it was $1,000 a month to coach. And it's interesting how you're helping people do breakthroughs, and it may not be some life earth shattering thing on every single call. However, everything is part of the journey, and they're doing the work. And then they get to this point where it's like, man, I got to cut some money. And it seems like that coaching check was always one of the first things that went on the chopping block. So I think that it doesn't get credit. So I'm announcing that out to just make people more aware of it, because one of the things I tell people is each of us are running through our forest. We are in it, we're doing it, we're going. Some are sprinting through the forest, right? And as a coach, as a good coach that brings value, so I will say that you're going to continue to pay when there's value. However, a lot of times I've seen value and they didn't see the value because they got the credit for doing all the work. They're doing all the hard work. But as a coach or even a mentor or anybody that you're sharing your life with, it doesn't even have to be a paid coach. They get to fly above your forest at 10,000 feet. Well, not even at 10,000 feet. They're just flying right above the forest, right above your head. And they can see where you're running, and they can see when you're about to hit a tree. And just think about your day where you're running and there's a tree, and yeah, you see it too, and you dodge it right at the end, but we already saw you headed towards the tree. So that person can fly above the forest and see things that you don't see where you're running along. Kind of goes along with our tradition story, because there are some traditions that might not make sense, but and I'll actually give you a visual real quick. If you were, this is a visual I do when I'm speaking in front of a group, and I will draw an A at the top of the page, and I'll draw a B at the bottom of the page, and I'll draw a straight line. And it's like, so we're at point A and we want to get to point B, and there's the straight line, right? And as soon as you start that journey, as soon as I put the pen on the A and I start drawing, I just kind of whip out to the left and I whip back over, way over to the right. And I come back to the left and I come back to the right and I work my way down to that B. And it's like we get sidetracked with so much stuff. And that's that zipping through the forest, right? So just showing that having somebody who knows what your vision is, where you're headed, where you're going, which is why you want to announce it to the world and make it known. They can see when you're zigging and zagging, and they already see the straightest path that you can take. So I'll give you a real world example where I'm putting this in place. I've got all these great systems in real estate. Like any agent that will just trust the system that finds me, tracks me down, will sell 100 homes a year. It's so simple, and it is so predictable, It will happen every time if you follow the system. Now, inside that system, though, it has to be flexible enough. And think of a system like a Starbucks. No matter what Starbucks you go to, you get the same drink every time, unless the only time, if you've ever had a bad experience and you didn't get your coffee the way you wanted it, I can guarantee you the person didn't follow the Starbucks system to make your coffee the way they were supposed to. They probably got creative and added, ooh, I'm going to add my little zip of cinnamon during Christmas, right? And it's like, oh my God, this doesn't taste the same. If you follow the system, you get the same thing every time. McDonald's is the ultimate, right? I mean, you get the same burger no matter where you are every time, unless somebody's not following the system. And what I realized is the system has to be that solid so that it's that predictable, so that anyone without any skill can come in and sell 100 homes a year in my real estate system. You don't need scripts, you don't need to know how to fill in a contract yet, you don't need anything, and you will sell 100 homes a year. But the system can't be so strict that you have to use the showing company that we use to set up showings on houses, or the if you've heard the word MLS before, that's the multiple listing service where all the real estate agents listings go. And I know I have a lot of real estate agents on stage, but man, if the MLS system changes and my system is so automatic that it is set up for the current MLS system, everything's going to go to hell in a handbasket. So you got to have the right systems in place, and yet you have to be able to add your fingerprint, your personal touch, or when things change, when technology gets better. I mean, cell phones. I mean, what are we going to do for virtual tours when holograms are just a part of our world, right? Where you can actually walk through the house while you're standing in your living room. That stuff's out there, man. Those 3D goggles, right? So, yeah,
When it really comes to systems, I agree with you 100%. And I love when you come on and you start talking about systems. If you can create a really good standard, so we can see if David's available and move on over to Monica.
yeah, I'm just saying, be aware that you're running through your forest. Having somebody see where you're running and directing that path to make sure you're staying on that A to B straight path. And then also remember that tradition thing with the ham. Why do we do it this way? And if pans go away and we don't have pans anymore, how are you going to do that ham then? So things change, and be ready for it. Yet, do those core systems and keep those in place.
Love it. Love it. Thanks so much for that. Yes, it's a good idea to have somebody with you